talk about Omaha Publications briefly here. I'm so glad that everybody's involved. You know, I've known Todd Lemke for some time. He's a real, true entrepreneur in the publishing business with Omaha Publications and his family and his brother Tyler and so on. They keep expanding. They keep adding niche publications. Obviously, they've got B2B here in Omaha. It's a quarterly magazine. And they send that out to 18,000 households here in the community. So a lot of business people read B2B Magazine. And we are thrilled to have Gil Cohen here, who's the vice president over there at Omaha Publications. We appreciate their help. How about a brief round of applause for Omaha Publications, please? Thank you very much. All right, this next guest, can't wait to introduce him to you. This is a guy you're not going to know about unless you're in the technology industry, which many of you are. He is a facilitator for a peer group. You know, peer groups like Vistage, becoming increasingly popular. Business owners in one industry get together, so they're non-competitive. They get together all over the country, and they rely on people like this gentleman to facilitate really constructive and intense dialogue. They're trying to help each other, give each other tips. And the thing goes from being professional and helpful in a professional context, but a personal context. They start unburdening themselves. They know what's going on with their family and their kids and all kinds of things. And these people are addicted to these groups. They would never leave, partially because of the leadership and the maturity and the foresight that people like this gentleman right here bring to the party. He's eclectic. I call him a synergist. He's a boundary spanner, and that's something I really respect in a human being. Please welcome my friend Scott Scrogin, everybody, right now. Scott! Scott Scrogin. There you are.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Thanks so much.
Good to see you. Before I start, I want to take just a minute because people don't realize you're the hardest working man in show business.
No, James Brown. No.
And everybody should realize the work that Lynn did to put this on started a long time ago, certainly with the Appreciation Embassy Suites, but let's give Lynn a hand.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do more of these, and because there is a trend out there. I mean, you're in the technology industry, so let's indulge each other for a brief minute. Digital video and online video is such a massive. You know, we all know that YouTube has changed the nature of communications, and now because of digital technology is so affordable, right? Any company of any size or scope can afford to hire somebody to do a custom news talk show like this. Where executives can talk about their companies, right? Educate and earn the trust of prospects, right? Put it up on the web, kabam, right? They got their own branded show.
That's right, and there's some amazing things happening as well from the standpoint of tracking, because that's always like with social media, you know, well, I'm going to make this investment, does it pay off? But the ability now, when videos are posted, to have the opportunity to track who watched for how long.
Yes.
So when you think your 7-minute video of this interview is great, and I realize that half the people dropped off 3 minutes in because I wasn't dynamic.
Yes.
Of course that won't happen.
No, of course not.
Of course not. But some great quantification of that opportunity.
Right.
As well.
We're part of the big data revolution.
That's right.
All right. Now, speaking of that, I'm going to turn this show over to you because you are such an insightful guy. You've had an incredible eclectic background. You've worked for 2 Fortune 50 companies. You have a Harvard background. You're artistic and creative for a technology guy. What would you say? I mean, you've got it wrapped up. You want to exchange seats, by the way? You could maybe.
No, I was just going to say that that and 25 cents will get you coffee at Embassy Suites. So.
All right. Well, that's not a bad place to have a cup of coffee, by the way. It's quite good. But anyway, tell us, if you had to simplify it, somebody said, oh, please, I'm having a terrible time in my career. I want to be in technology. There are a lot of technology jobs out there, programming and so on. Boil it all down. What advice would you give to somebody?
Well, it obviously depends somewhere where they are on their career path.
Sure.
If I have the opportunity to visit with, say, one of the high school students that are here, they've got, you know, the world at their fingers, if you will, in terms of what they can do. From one perspective, the things that consumers do today are what businesses will do tomorrow.
Yes.
And it used to not be that way, but today it's consumerism and IT that leads the pack. So the types of things that they take for granted that they're doing are of value in many cases to businesses who may not be doing them today.
You know, we were talking with a previous interviewee about the importance of experimenting when you're early in your career, and maybe even later, and weaving in new influences and putting yourself in different environments and not getting too hard on yourself as to whether you do great there or someplace else or whatever. Tell us a little bit about that. You're one of the most eclectic technology guys I know.
Well, I was very fortunate to have two parents that, in brief, my dad was an architect, hands-on guy, fix anything, but he was a fabulous artist as well. My mom was a teacher and one who really believed in service. And I think both those factors combined to kind of launch me to where I wanted to go. But I think the broaden yourself component of career advice is a great thing to have, and to not be afraid to fail. I know even in the millennial generation today, the concept of a career with a company is not at all what it was in in our generation. From
just the whole notion of instead of trying to go forward in a linear fashion, trying to weave in outside influences. I know you've studied philosophy, right? I know this. Right. You've written. I don't know too many technologists that do that, right? You know, you've worked in small service businesses.
Yep.
And what is beautiful about the work that you do, and I see this, but you couldn't do it if you hadn't done this, is that you can jump from one group to another and transfer knowledge. So these guys are talking about this. I want you all to focus on this in a different context over here. See what happens.
Right.
I love that.
And I think, there's a lot of different models for this. I use the concept sometimes of a Rubik's Cube that is multiple dimensions, and one is the depth of knowledge you have,
yes,
and one is the breadth of knowledge you have, and the third dimension is time. Yes. Because what you learned about something years ago, it may or may not apply to what you learn today. And you can kind of spin that cube in different ways to come up with the solution you need. But if you just think about it simply, you can't have a conversation easily with someone if you don't know anything about, maybe you're stopping by at a networking event like this.
Sure.
If you at least know something.
Yes.
And it takes some time, it takes some investment, but as I say to people, you really have to be willing to broaden yourself and know who you are to make those work together.
Now I'm going to call that your first point of three, kind of your success formula. I've heard this before, and the Rubik's Cube thing, man, metaphors really bring ideas like this alive. But the second one has to do with self-knowledge, does it not? Give us just 30 seconds about the importance of self-knowledge as a component in finding and evolving into a successful career.
Right. Well, I think it's certainly easy. It was in my career. I know I ran very, very hard to have the great grades, the activities, high school, college, etc.
Oh yeah, you were the obsessive charger leader guy.
I was, but the reality to that is it's very easy to find yourself climbing the ladder to success is faster than anybody, yes, only to find it leaning against the wrong wall.
Yeah, that's the second powerful metaphor you shared with us so far. And Joseph Campbell uses the same metaphor. He says people climb up their careers and they work their butt off and so on and so forth, and it's like climbing a ladder, and then they get to the top or near the top, and they look down and say, wait a minute, this thing is leaning. I don't even care about getting where I'm trying to go right here. What happened here?
That's right, and you can take, and I hope you do, take whether it's Myers-Briggs or Strength Finder or DISC or Judgment Index, which is one I really like. Take all those and sort out what works for you. Don't let it define you, but additional information that you can take and use as you choose. So that concept of not only broadening yourself, but knowing yourself helps you get to that true north where you want to go.
I love it. You are doing so great. Now, so we had the Rubik's Cube, we had the ladder against the wall. You're speaking like an ad guy, not a technology guy, which I love this. All right, so let's go on to point number 3, because I know this is a big one. It's been mentioned briefly before by Jason Lauritsen, and that is power of relationship. So to summarize, get a lot of things going on in your life to think through and sort through. Figure out who you really are, and then it's authentic relationships or what?
I truly believe in that, and that's something that came to me late in life, where before I looked at relationships as a rung on a ladder, as opposed to the value of relationships in many times smaller groups, and what a difference that not only they make in your life, but you can make in theirs. And the fact that you have 1,000 friends on Facebook and 1,000 connections on LinkedIn is not nearly as important to me as the fact that I have 10 people that I could call and did, like Mike shared earlier, when I was sick, and really helped me sort out it wasn't intentionally, but it was obvious of the people that cared about you in a time that you were down. And that doesn't mean, could be illness, could be a lost job, could be a separation of the family, whatever the case could be. But anyway, it's at the end of the day, you know, it's the relationships that are going to matter, and that's something we have to work hard on with the members of our organizations, because they're ladder climbers, entrepreneurs, and all, to get them to slow down and think about that.
And they're very metric and benchmark and quantitative, and when you say, wait a minute, there's another dimension to life.
That's right.
Which is nuance and subtlety, emotional intelligence. We used this before, sensitivity to people's issues and so on. Very, very interesting. Really depicts and exemplifies the maturation of a technology executive. Thank you so very much for sharing those 3 points with us. Scott Scrogin with HTG Peer Group, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Awesome job. 1, 2, 3. Bam, bam, bam. I love it.